Belonging explores Limerick's European embrace and the importance of the European Union to Limerick. It's a major exhibition featuring 82 works by European artists from all 27 countries of the EU plus the UK. It's on loan from the European Investment Bank art collection to the Hunt Museum and 7 other partner venues across Limerick City. The exhibition is the centrepiece of the European Expo. The exhibition is a reflection on what it means to belong, a question that's been debated and explored in the arts forever, but has become even more pertinent after the divisive political events such as Brexit. Many are wondering once more what it means to belong to their city, country and Europe at a time when the pandemic aftermath should be bringing to the fore the importance of collaboration and community. This show asserts art's social function. I believe that we can use art in its broad sense to get closer to an understanding of each other, to become genuinely inclusive and more tolerant of each other. Art makes us feel and think at a personal level, both emotions that are probably lacking when you speak of the European Union. If we can understand each other using art, we will strengthen ourselves as individuals sharing a European culture, society and economy. In Belonging, we have a sweeping, vaulting and very thought-provoking exhibition from the curator of the European Investment Bank art collection, Delphine Munro.
I think what is very unique about this exhibition is the fact that it's a multi-site exhibition. It's taking place in 8 different locations. You have 3 cultural institutions or museums, so the People's Museum of Limerick, the Hunt Museum and the City Gallery. You also have a place of worship, St. Mary's Cathedral, 2 universities, UL and Mary Immaculate, and 2 different venues at UL. And finally, this very specific and my coup de coeur in a way, the Sailor's Home. I think it's the first time that we actually exhibit in a non-white cube space or a non-traditional space. We have exhibited in places of worship before. And this makes it very, very special to me, especially when with the selection of works, which you can find here, they are getting a new way of life and a new lease of life with this very rugged environment. And I like the fact that you have the cultural heritage and an iconic place playing together with the artworks.
Ireland is a really good example of wanting to belong or being part of Europe and doing its best to be part of it, and has benefited from it. And I think it expresses that through art and culture and that kind of thing. I think there are a lot of reasons why certain works are in certain spaces. The Hunt Museum Gallery has the ability to show quite large works and to manage it around the gallery, but then we've got some sculptural pieces and they work very well in the Sailor's Home, whereas in Plassey House we've got some of the Dutch masters. So it very much depends on making sure that the space that's being used is the space that will work for those pieces of art.
What makes the collection of the European Investment Bank so specific is that it offers a panorama of contemporary artistic creation. We have about 900 works in the collection, encompassing paintings, works on paper, photographs, site-specific commission, huge installations like this, and sculptures, and also some media-based art. The way we see the collection is that we want to share it with as many people as possible, not only in our offices, but also with the general public at large, and ultimately the EU citizens. And we see the collection as a way to engage with the community through cultural diplomacy and also through mediation. So we have developed very interesting activities for specific groups or children or educational activities to be able, for the general public to be able to engage with the collection.
It's a very large collection. There's 82 works. So we thought, yeah, it's great to have it. It's contemporary art. There's some really iconic pieces in here. But we can't fit 82 works within the walls of this gallery or even within the museum. So we then went out to the other museums, galleries and spaces in Limerick.
Way back in 2019, we were invited along with the other organisations, institutions in Limerick to see if we'd be interested in collaborating on this particular exhibition, Belonging. And the works are from the European Investment Bank, which is based in Luxembourg, and through the aegis of John Moran, who was really the prime mover behind all of this. I think it's 8 or 9 institutions in the city got involved, and you know, here we are 3.5 years later, or 3 years later, with these 9 works, these seminal works from the collection here in Limerick. Given that these are really quite valuable works, it was a very delicate operation, but the technicians who were on the job were able to do it and did it with panache and aplomb, and they all arrived in here safely where they were placed, where under the dutiful eye of our senior technician gallery manager Siobhan O'Reilly and the curator Delphine, they were placed into the positions that she had decided upon, you know, 2 years ago when she did a site visit. Unlike some of the other institutions which do not have museum standard recognition, if you like, or accreditation, we do. And in fact, it was Delphine who decided to go down a particular route to identify works within the EIB collection, but she opted for this, what she called a monochrome overview of works. So we're dealing with works that don't have a lot of colour, but they do have a lot of depth. To us, as a gallery, and in fact the foremost gallery in the Midwest, it is really important to be associated with the exhibition, but also to have work like this in our institution. We could never ever afford. It would be our whole budget gone for 1 year to get these 9 works into this gallery. So it would be beyond our capabilities to do it. That is why it is important to the gallery, to the people of Limerick. It is for me the opportunity to see works in this gallery space that we would not otherwise get to see. To the people of Ireland, the same, because these aren't works that, again, I wouldn't have been familiar with, you know, half of the works of the artists, or indeed the works. So it's that opportunity to having it on your doorstep, or at least within, you know, a 2-hour train journey. Get down here, get to Limerick and see the work, because we won't get a chance again. So the painting we have here is by Dublin-born artist Sean Scully, and I suspect he is the name that will chime with most people, in fact. So moved to London in the, I think, late 40s. He was educated there, studied art in various schools. And after that, in fact, he worked as a bricklayer, as a box maker, as you know, all sorts of different jobs, as happens to a lot of artists. But there was something there all the time, I mean, that need. So I think what this demonstrates is this, you know, grid system, the laying of blocks, if you like. He is a very, very important artist with a big international name, commanding huge prices, as you can see. But he does introduce into this painting a second, if you like, painting. So there's this cutout here, and you have slightly less monochrome, bit of colour, it's gentle, and it's very nice to be up close and very comfortable with a painting of this size and scale. This is an interesting one because I had never heard of Alighieri Boetti before it arrived here. And I was doing a little bit of reading, and I came across an essay by a very well-known curator. He runs the Serpentine Gallery, Hans Ulrich Obrist, and he had met him in the 80s. A fascinating guy, was very involved, kind of very pop art and the kind of commercial side of things, became involved in a movement called Arte Povera, which was really against the commercial and more using poor materials, is how it would be described, Arte Povera. But this is one of his, he was really well known for a series of maps that he did, were embroidered. He worked with particularly women in Afghanistan and Pakistan. He would also have worked with other people to make these, because they're biro drawings. So it's this absolutely kind of crazy, detailed, doing it with a biro, that's it, simple material, you know, there's nothing fancy. You'll see here on the left is the alphabet, and the name of this piece is called SX, E-S-E-X, from the Latin meaning from art. And there's a bit of playfulness and a bit of like a little bit of, you know, a quiz going on, if you like. So he inserts these commas. So we have a ni, and then you come down here and you have an S. So that's the S. Then you move over here and you have another comma, again the E, and then down to X. So we have S, X written out for us in the painting. I just think that's great. We're owned and operated by the local authority. And for me, that civic amenity is hugely important. So we belong to the people. We are not an institution that are, you know, monitored by a board. We are owned by the people. And as I said, we're here on the side of the People's Park. It's a civic space, and I hope that we are acting in accordance with those civic aspirations. So belonging is really critical to me, and that people feel this belongs to them. There was an overarching thing of belonging to the EU as well. You know, Limerick is a European city in many ways, and that we would celebrate that sense of belonging. And I think anybody who follows Limerick hurling knows what belonging means. I do.
We were approached about 3 years ago initially to take the exhibition Belonging from the European Investment Bank. Delphine Munro, who's the curator of the European Investment Bank, had actually allocated certain works. Now that has changed in the 3 years that we've actually the idea was conceived to the manifestation of the exhibitions that we have in 8 locations across Limerick, 2 of them being here at the University of Limerick. What we're going to see here in the Bourne Vincent Gallery at the University is the issue of the Anthropocene manifest. In other words, when man's imprint on the earth became obvious. So from the point of view of political, environmental, socioeconomic, migration, dealing with issues of colonization and imperialism. So what you will see is various European artists responding to that theme. So the Bourne Vincent Gallery has 15 artists. In the East Room in Plassey House, there are 5 old masters, 2 portraits by a UK artist, and 3 vedute paintings by Dutch artists. Well, I think Irish artists are represented well in this exhibition. There's actually 2 people, Mark McGuinness here with this photographic work called Meandering, and here we've got Meabh Schmidtke, who has an installation piece based on the carbon footprint, and she has dual Irish and Swedish citizenship. But Irish artists hold their own amongst all of Europe, so it's not surprising to see Irish artists in this collective. So what we're looking at in these images are a piece of pietra stone, and which is also called picture limestone, and it's also called ruin stone. These images, which are actually from a bank of online images that the artist actually went through. Pietra stone is actually a very rare piece of limestone usually found in northern Italy. And what it is, it looks like a very ordinary piece of stone on the outside, but it's not until it's actually cut into slices that the actual image, which appears to be painted, is visible in the centre. It was formed under very specific geological conditions 50 million years ago, and what the artist Pamela has done is she's actually married this 50 million year old piece of stone with a modern image, making us question how Mother Nature happened to be able to come up with this amazing work when it took us 50 million years later. This piece is by a Nigerian artist called Otabong Nkanga, and she is now living in Belgium and was part of the Artist Development Programme in 2016 with the European Investment Bank. This piece in particular is one that I personally have an attachment to. I think it probably comes from the fact that in Ireland we have such a history with yarn and weaving and lace and linen and Celtic jumpers, this kind of thing. So this and telling stories through the medium of material. So this is actually very important. This piece itself, After We Are Gone, it's called, is about her experience in dealing with the first time that she went to see the Meabh mine in Namibia. This piece is actually an ode to the Meabh mines, and what she's saying in this piece is that she hopes that in time to come the land can recover, and she has these silver and golden threads through it which are reminiscent of the mica and the minerals that she thinks of as a child. The plant that is there is actually is an amalgam of various different plants, so it's her way of looking from the utopia element as opposed to dystopia. If we were gone, you may be able to stitch the mine back together, and this green, lush, verdant land would come back. I've really thought about what belonging means, because while we've been putting this exhibition together, the world has been on lockdown, and what does that mean? And certainly I think the sense of belonging changes over your lifetime. Certainly when I was a child, for me, belonging was a very immediate thing. It was very much my siblings, or I belonged to my family, my siblings, that blood tie. But now it means something completely different to me. It's certainly about connection to place and people, but it also means not just connection, it means acceptance. And I think that's something that's very important, because with acceptance you feel safety and security, and you can't belong if you don't have that sense of safety and security. So my opinion about belonging is very flexible now, so it changes no matter where I live, where I work, or where I travel to.
To have the Belonging exhibition here in the Hunt is a huge honour for us and for Limerick. To have such a variety of pieces of art here, it's incredible. We have 22 artists with 30 different works from 19 different countries, so it is a huge variety, and we're delighted to have it here. It's been a long process to get the works here, and there's a lot of variety in sizes, which has been interesting to get them through the door. So we've had some challenges, but we've overcome them, and they're all here. So it's been great. So the green, it's a great colour, and it really works in this space. It was the colour chosen for the catalogue for the exhibition, and it was suggested that it might work really well in this space, and it does, which is great. And my role, I aided Naomi O'Nolan, who was our head of exhibitions here, just to decide where everything would go in the creation of this exhibition, and it was a great honour to help her with it. So this work here is by Ducanaris, who is a Cypriot artist, and it's called A Stroll at the Blue Hour, and it was created in 2020, so a very recent acquisition by the EIB. And it was created by painting a canvas and de-threading it and weaving those threads back together into this kind of umbrella-looking structure. And it's incredible. It's really good with movement and light, and I think it's very different for here, and it's been a great pleasure to have it on show here. To me, belonging is feeling a sense of security. to express yourself in whatever way you feel, perhaps artistically, and to feel that you are a part of something, which is a great feeling of sense of security. And the work, to me, that speaks most to that is Wow by Mircea Suciu, and it shows a group of people standing on a barrier, enjoying themselves. We can't see their faces, so we can project whatever emotions we feel onto it, and I think it's a familiar image that we all know. So this is a tapestry mixed media piece by Isabel Nolan. She's an Irish artist, and it depicts a whole load of dogs, which is always very enjoyable. And when you get up close, you see that they're all individual. And it's a kind of a surrealist depiction of a group of dogs, but it's very enticing, and even there's depictions of dogs framed, which is kind of like you've had photos of your family framed, and as pets are always a huge part of any family. So it's a great piece of art, and it really speaks to me because I had a dog that was a sheepdog. So it's very, very important to me, and I think it's a great work. And the fact that it's tapestry as well, it's kind of elevating a type of art that was seen as women's work or kind of very just decorative, but it's bringing it up to a par with painting and sculpture, which is very important.
Welcome to the Sailor's Home, one of the most exciting and iconic exhibition spaces in Limerick. This Georgian house was designed by Dublin architect and engineer Edward P. Nagel in 1854. It is a great privilege to showcase works from the collection of the European Investment Bank in this historic landmark that brings art to life outside of the white cube. After all, today's art is tomorrow's cultural heritage, so there is no better match of art and architecture. Architectural heritage is an asset of enduring value to Europe's citizens, especially buildings like this that have such a rich history. They act as a metaphor for resilience, standing tall against destructive forces. Moreover, experts are now labeling cultural heritage sites as non-renewable resources, as they are threatened by climate change. We must not take these irreplaceable spaces for granted. We have purposefully chosen tactile works for this space: smooth bronze, rough metal, reflective shot glass, coarse wood, and rugged cloth. These textures take on a new energy in this venue. Here you will find some of the EIB's most iconic sculptural works, including Tony Cragg's curvaceous articulated column and a dramatic bust by Dutch artist Armando. Also, a monumental piece by a major proponent of arte povera, Greek artist Yannis Kounelis. This space also features 4 of the European Investment Bank's very own artists in residence. Let's start with Meabh, a Slovenian artist living in Paris. She made frame series work number 5 during her stint in Luxembourg. As the glass mirrors the ceiling, the architecture is in turn transformed by the shifting light patterns created by the reflection. Latvian artist Darta Sidere used sandstones from the quarries of Erzen in Luxembourg. The surface of each stone was worked with nitric acid, leaving visible the intangible passing of time. Placed in the Sailor's Home, this work invites us to appreciate the building's many wounds, embracing the trials and tribulation of history. This artwork by Maltese artist Aaron Bezina has a similar symbolic value. By balancing her head on this heavy contraption, Bezina plays with fragility and fear. His works takes on a new meaning in a building that was once crumbling. Our final artist in residence is Markus Hoffmann, a German artist whose practice stands at the junction between art and science. Zircon Campus consists of hourglasses filled with zircon, the oldest mineral, hanging in a precarious balance. This work considers the paradox of durability and yet vulnerability in natural materials, and also questions the transience of human life. All of the artworks in this incredibly special space fluctuate between fragility and resilience. In this way, they're metaphors for the Sailor's Home itself, which has overcome so many obstacles to stand proudly today as one of the most exciting historical landmarks and cultural spaces in Limerick.
Nearly 2 decades on, we still have a battle on our hands to shift our thinking towards the cultural, human and social needs as requisites for making the economics work more productively, and for Europe to be a place where people want to be seen to belong. This ambition can be expressed in no better way than through this sweeping, vaulting exhibition curated by Delphine Munro from the collection of the European Investment Bank. With works from all countries of Europe across gender and race, it shows the strength of the European Union, but also what it means to belong to Europe. The Hunt Museum is proud to stage belonging by leading a consortium of Limerick cultural institutions. Limerick City Gallery of Art, Mary Immaculate College, St Mary's Cathedral, the People's Museum of Limerick, the Sailors' Home and the University of Limerick Bourne Vincent Gallery and East Room at Plessy House. Together we express the Limerick brand of European embrace, with how Limerick is very much part of Europe and how Europe is integral to the city and the Midwest region of Ireland.